Let's talk about Theresa May. The reason why I want to talk about our current Prime Minister, who could be kicked to the curb pretty damn soon, is because her usual rebuttal to any kind of criticism as to how the government has operated is to blame it on the previous Labour government. Now, this is something that, people pass the buck all the time, not just politicians. People generally try to blame other people for their own mistakes. It's a fairly common human thing to do. But there are cases where it should be absolutely 100% unacceptable. And this is one of those cases. So when it comes to education, Theresa May got up and said, well, just look at the legacy of the Labour government. Look at what Labour did. I genuinely believe someone needs to sit down with Theresa May and say, look, Theresa, the Conservatives have been in power since 2010. That's 9 years. It honestly doesn't matter what the Labour government did 9 years ago. The Conservatives have had full control since 2010. Now, as I've said before, there are certain things with certain policies and certain governmental contracts so that if a government changes today, it doesn't necessarily null and void all the other contracts, and there is a bit of overlap. For example, the first year of Trump's presidency, there was a huge skyrocket, not necessarily a skyrocket, but there was the following uphill of jobs being created and wealth being created among everyday people. Those were because of Obama's policies that hadn't yet run out. When it was finally left just to Trump, everything started to take a nosedive. However, this is 9 years. It doesn't take 9 years for governmental policies to expire. The state of the country, where teachers are coming forward and saying we haven't got the funding to teach your children, that is because of the Conservatives. That is because of Theresa May. And yet her only response to this is to pass the blame. Jeremy Corbyn should be standing up and reminding her what year it is. And again, this is not just something that happens with education. Theresa May passes the blame on absolutely everything that she doesn't like, whether it's completely ignoring the facts or whether it's just passing the blame. These are things that make her completely inequipped and incompetent in any kind of leadership role. Now, she is going soon, but that's not because she's incompetent at her job. It's because she's made such a pig's ear of Brexit. And her new Brexit deal, which apparently is all great, but we'd have to vote for Conservatives tomorrow in order to find out what this deal is. It's just another way of kicking the can. Not necessarily kicking the can, but it's a way of saying, hey, vote for us, because remember all those years ago we had Labour and they did some naughty things. We're in a position, whether you agree with Brexit, whether you want to leave the EU or not, we are in a position where we are about to take a massive, drastic turn for the worse in this country. And now prominent Brexiteers are even saying, yes, things will definitely get worse, but they might get better further on down the line. But they're definitely going to get worse. And yet, whether it's Theresa May or whether it's Dominic Raab, whether it's Boris Johnson, I hope it's not Boris Johnson, whether it's any one of these self-serving, bigoted morons who get into number 10, they have the exact same attitude. Blame someone else for the problems that the Conservatives created. So, a general election should be triggered. Now, there's nothing saying that there is no guarantee that it will be triggered, not even a little bit. If the Conservatives can agree on a new party leader, there will not be a general election. But the party is divided. So they'll either get a hardline Brexiteer like Boris Johnson, who will see this country burn and not care, or they'll get another middle of the road twat flump. Which again, it's difficult to say which is going to happen because the Conservatives themselves are split down the middle. The Conservatives are not a party of leaders. They are a party of warmongering, wealth hoarding bigots and racists. So it'll be interesting to see how tomorrow's vote goes. To see if people do go Conservative more than Labour. To see if people will go Lib Dem more than anything else, as Lib Dems are taking such a huge stride. Again, I sincerely hope nobody votes for the Brexit Party. I know people will, but this is what you need to remember. The Brexit Party have no foundations and have no intent of doing the job. You're not going to pay a milkman if he doesn't deliver milk. You're not going to randomly go into a shop and just give them money and not take anything from the shop. It's the same principle. The Brexit Party will not do their fucking job. They do not deserve the obscenely wealthy payday that they will be taking every single month until we either leave the EU or until they're replaced. This is the culture that Theresa May and the Conservatives have set up. Blame everyone else for the problems that they've caused and hope no one actually bothers to do the research.